We're about to begin the service for Mr. Jerrold Levin. I'd ask any of you who have a cellular phone to please turn it to the off position. Officiating our service today will be Rabbi Michael Davis. We will now be presenting the flag to the family.
Dear family and friends, we gathered here, and with Harold in California and many others who are watching with love, part of our community, to honor the life and many relationships and loves of your dad, your granddad, your friend, Jerrold Levin. We're going to begin with ancient words from the Bible, from the Tanakh, words that have offered comfort to countless generations, perhaps the most beloved of all the Psalms, the 23rd Psalm, which you can find in the handout that you received as you came in on the second panel. I will chant it in the traditional original Hebrew and then invite us to read it together in the English. And as you cast your eyes over the text, I invite you to take in that this rendition, perhaps it's familiar to you, is read as an affirmation. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But I want to offer to you that the original Hebrew allows for this to be translated equally as an aspiration. May I walk through the still waters, may I find comfort. So wherever you are right now, in a place of affirmation of these words, or perhaps not quite there as an aspiration, I invite you to take in these words as we gather in sacred community. Mizmor leDavid, Adonai ro'i lo echsar, binot esher yarbitzeni, al mei menuchot yenahaleini. Nafshi yeshovev, nafshi yeshovev, yancheni v'magelei tzedek, ay leman shemo. Gam ki yelech begeitz al mavet, lo irara, ki ata imadi, shivtecha umishantecha, shivtecha umishantecha, hema yenachamuni. Let us read together the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And at the outset, I want to acknowledge that the last few years have not been easy. And there is some relief and sadness looking at these last few years. And I want to share a little story from my life, perhaps you've experienced this in your own lives, was when my father passed away, some years ago now. And he'd been sick for a while. And I'd been with him the days before, and it happened early in the morning. And I got the call and rushed back. And I remember walking in to my parents' home and noticing that the place was bathed in sunlight. And it wasn't as if the previous days had been overcast and all of a sudden the weather had cleared and the sun was out. No, that wasn't the case. It'd been sunny the days before too. What had happened was the overcastness of my soul had lifted, his suffering had lifted. And in the moment when his suffering had ended, we were able to notice the sunshine. So one hope and prayer I have for you is that these overcast days turn to sunshine and you're able to look back and these beautiful pictures that we saw as we came in, as time goes by, that the memory of the sadness will fade and the memory of the sweetness of all those years will endure. And we can help that along through the telling of stories, through carrying forward the sweetness, through bringing that to life and establishing and continuing and strengthening that chain of transmission of sweet, sweet memory. So I invite you to take a few moments of silence for your own private memories, reflections, a prayer if you like. Let's take a few moments of silence together. Let us come back together, affirming each other's prayers with a prayer for peace. Let us sing together Oseh Shalom. You can find that on the back panel under the Kaddish. It's the last two and a half lines, beginning with that big O, Oseh Shalom. I invite you to sing along with me. As I like to say, if you know it, sing out loud. And if you don't, just fake it along with me. Oseh Shalom bimroma, v'hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. So I've been asked to share some words on behalf of the family. And I have to begin with this lovely story, this beautiful handwriting from Annabelle. So I'm honored to read this on your behalf. The handwriting is beautiful and the sentiments are even more beautiful. This is Annabelle. I remember when Grandpa would tell stories to me about the 3 little pigs. I loved it. The big bad wolf would huff and puff and blow the house down. Now, there were also 2 versions of how he would tell it. There was when everyone survived and they lived happily ever after. And the grim version, when the 2 not very wise pigs would die and the 1 wise smart pig would survive in the brick house. I loved hearing these stories and was so into it. Now I know these stories by heart. I miss Grandpa so much, and he always knew so much. He was very wise, and I would always learn new things from him. I love my grandpa and miss him so much. It's beautiful. So a few thoughts from Jerry's siblings, from Harry in California, and from Lenora, who's here. First, Harry. Harry said he remembers our mom told him Jerry was the schönest of the Kinder. Is it schönest or schönest? I'm not sure if I'm reading it right. Schönest. That's the Yiddish. The schönest of the Kinder, which means the most beautiful of the children. Kinder is in kindergarten. I'm not sure how you took that exactly. She also told him Jerry had the prettiest of the girls. Among other things, Jerry was a great cook. And from Lenora, Jerry was my baby brother, and I remember how adorable a baby he was when Mom brought him back home from the hospital. As time went on, and he was about 3 or 4 years old, I had to take care of Jerry when I went outside to play. He was the most agreeable and sweet little boy, so very easygoing. If we each had a nickel to buy something at the corner store, I would ask him what he wanted. He would say, I don't know. Now, I knew he didn't like ice cream, so I would suggest ice cream to him. He would say, okay, then take one lick and say he didn't want any more. Of course, I would say, can I have it? He would say, okay. As an adult, Jerry was always there for me if ever I needed help. Being a good cook, he always took over at the barbecue if I had his family over for a barbecue party. And the food always came out perfect. Everyone always enjoyed his company. My daughter-in-law Tracy said he always made her laugh. My brother Jerry will be missed greatly by me and all who knew him. He was a wonderful, loving brother. Just a few more words from what you told me. On behalf of Cheryl and Michelle, Cheryl has fond memories of their walks in the woods, that he loved being there, and they spent so much time there that he could walk through blindfolded. He knew the deer trails, he recognized the trees. It was their shared activity, it was their thing. And doing that in particular with the dogs, the big dogs, and he had a Doberman. And Cheryl talks about how that is one of his legacies, that she's had 3 Dobermans since, and through those big dogs, she has that connection, and he established that in her. He spoke about his love of food and his great ability in preparing his apple pancakes. And a month ago, made that roast with the mashed potatoes, the gravy. It's just a cherished memory. He also spoke about his early years. I heard from all of you about growing up, how capable he was in getting started in the auto parts business with his uncles and Harry, and that he always knew exactly where everything was, and was a terrific salesman, and had that sweetness that we heard about with people. And those smarts, with the people smarts together, made him very successful at what he did. And I was also struck about his independence. He spoke about how self-sufficient he was and able to help people, but also in the choices that he made in his life. I think it's something that we all perhaps experience, is the pressure to commit and overcommit to careers, to work, to succeed. In any line of work we have that. Clergy have that too. And that he chose to stay at what he was good at what he enjoyed at Fenceworks, which also enabled him to be available to his true love and passion and commitment, family, to Annabelle and Tyson, to being available to come down on a dime from the suburbs, to babysit, to be with you. And he structured his life in a way that made him available for what he really cared and loved for his family. He had a wonderful relationship with Harry in California, and he was planning one more trip out there, and he had it all worked out to drive out. He told me about his favorite donut place at the top of a mountain somewhere between here and there. And sadly, that will not happen, but it speaks of the bond that he felt over all these miles and over all these years. That's what he thought about, that's what he focused on. He said how he was this golden child and went on. First, he, if I got it right, married two beautiful women, one after the other. And then his passion and commitment was kind of shifted to beautiful vehicles and his Corvette and his Harley Davidson, and somehow there wasn't quite enough room for both. So he chose first one and then the other. And he had a passion for that and enjoyed that very much. So many relationships, so much love, so much that he gave all of you. And we keep that alive by telling the stories, by cherishing what he loved, his family, his legacy, and by continuing that legacy with love and with respect. May his memory be an enduring blessing. We turn to the closing prayers of this part of our service here in the chapel, and to the El Malei Rachamim. You can find the text at the bottom of the inside panel beneath the 23rd Psalm. I invite you to please rise as you are able for our final prayer here in the chapel. El Malei Rachamim Shochein Bamromim Hamtzei Menucha Nechoino Tachat Kanfei HaShechina Im Kadoshim Oteharim Kezohar Arakia Mazhirim Et Nishmat Yakireinu Shehalach Li'olamo Lochein bol harachamim yastirehu beseter knafav li'olamiyim veyitzror bitzror achayim et nishmato Adonai hu nachalato veyanuach veshalom al mishkavo venomar Amen. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence, among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto the soul of Jerrold Levin, who has gone unto eternity. Adonai of mercy, bring him under the cover of thy wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may his repose be peace. And we say, Amen. Please be seated.
This concludes our service here in the chapel. The interment will take place following the service at West Lawn Cemetery in Norridge, Illinois. A gathering will take place after the interment at Chasers in Niles. That's 9003 North Milwaukee Avenue. For those of you who are going to be going in procession with the family, please make sure you obtain an orange funeral safety sticker. That sticker should be placed in the front passenger side windshield of your vehicle. We would ask that your bright headlights and hazard lights be on at all times. For an additional measure of safety, our staff will be placing magnetic flags on the vehicles throughout the procession. As we drive in procession today, please drive as closely as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you. We want to avoid any large gaps, especially as we go through the intersections. We'd also ask you to please be considerate in terms of the utilization of your cellular telephones. Going to ask those who have been asked to be pallbearers to please approach Mr. Levin. At this time, I'd ask everyone to please rise as Mr. Levin, his family, and the clergy escorted from the chapel. Thank you.